right, welcome back to another edition of the off-season OSFL previews here, previewing the 2025 OSFL season here on the TYSN YouTube channel, presented by Football Ontario. I am once again joined by the great Mike Schmitty. Obviously, the U14 division has been, conquered by the blue and white over the past couple of seasons, so we can't wait to get into that. But what's your thoughts from this division at a glance? Really, the biggest shift, I'd say, for a young football player is moving up to this U14 division. What are your thoughts on this?
It is a division that highlights the young guns. It really, really does, and every year it's hard. Like, we're going to sit here, we're going to talk, and we're gonna base a lot of our judgments and our 2025 season based on what we've seen on the past. But at this age group, it's really tough because a lot of the clubs across the province are relying on rookies that are basically unknown. They've probably, some of them have never played football before. This is their first introduction. A lot of them maybe have played in their local youth programs, at the U10 and the U12. And we all know that's developmental, right? So taking a jump from like pure developmental football to the provincial stage of competitive football is a culture shock. And some coaches that have had success at the younger age groups, once they get to this level, they realize, wow, this is the real deal. There are some great teams out here. There are some great players. These coaches around the league know what they're doing, and it instantly becomes a very exciting division to watch because, man, some of these young guns are ballers, and it shows.
Yeah, and I think it's also really cool because a lot of these kids might be playing for these teams for the first time in their life, even if they played U12 and U10 football, because a lot of these programs don't offer U10 and U12, right? Like the Cumberland Panthers, as an example, for the OSFL, I mean. So it'll be really cool to see these kids that maybe played U12 at a different center, and now they're moving to their home center to U14. So I think that's a cool, interesting tidbit of information there as well. And, Schmitty, this division, out of all the breakdowns that we've done so far, I believe they have the most new teams joining the league. So we have some cool banter to go back and forth, adding 3 new teams at the U14 AAA East this season in the OSFL.
Yeah, well, if you remember last year, the structure was completely different, right? It was all, what was it?
One division,
14 teams all in one division, and this year the league has made a nice decision, refreshing decision to go back to that East-West format to align with the U16 and the U18 age groups. So that is going to be a little bit different for sure. It'll allow a lot more. I feel like it'll allow a lot more competition. If you're in the middle to the lower of the pack and in that broad league structure, there's no reason why when you go back to the East and West structure, you're not competing for that third place or fourth place team. So a different structure, but exciting for sure.
Absolutely, and I've always been a fan of the 2 divisions within one conference. I think it adds more rivalries, and these are going to be the teams that you're playing all the way up through the OSFL. Once the U14 starts, it's kind of that's kind of who you're going to be playing at U16 and U18. So these rivalries really run through. And like I said, I really like the addition of not playing any interconference games this season until the playoffs. I really think that's really cool. Who's better, East or West? We're going to find out in the playoffs. Yeah, exactly. So I really like that. So yeah, this U14 AAA East division, let's give a quick recap of 2024. Obviously, you can't go too much farther without mentioning the Cumberland Panthers and their run of dominance, especially the past 2 seasons at this OSFL U14 AAA division. They win the provincial championship, shutting out the London Junior Mustangs last year, similar to shutting out the Myers Riders the year before. So this is an elite team at this U14 AAA East. Maybe pound for pound the best team over the past 2 years out of any team in the entire OSFL at this division. Before we touch on these other teams and give a kind of a synopsis on the 2024 season, Schmitty, what has it taken for Cumberland to be this efficient and this great at this division for the last 2 years?
Well, I got to tell everybody I was on that staff last year of the 2024 U14 Panthers. I was defense coordinator, and what I can tell you about that age level is and the Panthers do this very, very well, especially their head coach and management staff, is making sure that the culture that is around this team is for the players and for the families, and it really, really shows when you have buy-in from families, and they see how the club or the team or the coaches and the management structure is there. They buy in, and when you have buy-in, you have success. We talked about it a couple times in the past podcasts about some teams and their culture, and the Panthers really do it quite well, especially with their coaching staff, and it's shown over the past few years. All teams and coaches at this level, their primary job should be less about winning and losing and more about player development, because if you focus on player development and you have structure and you're teaching the right things, and that organically winning is going to happen, and it's going to set up the teams in your club at the U16, the 18 division for much success over the years. So to me, it all starts with this program, this age group, and the very first thing you do at this age group as a new team is you build the culture and you build the buy-in from the players and the families, and that's a big deal.
For sure, and we'll touch on Cumberland whenever we get to them in our team-by-team breakdown, but let's give a synopsis on the 2024 season. Obviously, I just mentioned the Cumberland Panthers run the slate, don't lose a game. They end up meeting London in the finals and win that game pretty handily. I think London played pretty good in that game, but Cumberland's talent was on full display, kind of took over in that second and third quarter, I'd say. And then you move down the list, so you got the Durham Dolphins last year, who finished with a record of 6-2. Behind them, Myers Riders finished with a regular season of 4-4. Oshawa 2-6. Scarborough 1-7. And then Schmitty, 3 new teams to touch on here. The Kingston Grenadiers, who we're very familiar with from their JV and varsity squads. They are introducing a U14 provincial team for the first time in their history, so that's going to be really exciting to watch. We know what the Grens are capable of. It just gives another team with firepower there to come in and really probably elevate their U16 and U18 squads in the same time by doing
having a pathway at this age group to those U16 teams is going to be huge for that club going forward. I'm surprised it's taken this long. I don't think they've had a U14 in any of the leagues that they've been in, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, but I'm surprised it took this long. But this is the very exciting times for the East Division to have a very strong program like that injected into this age group.
Yeah, and we're going to see with our predictions later, Schmitty, but I think we're probably both in agreement that this team is going to slot right in and compete for a Tier 1 place.
I mean, it's going to be hard for them to not just naturally come in and make an impact around this age group for sure.
For sure. And then the other 2 new teams we got here, Schmitty, both making the move from AA. The Peel Panthers, who we mentioned at the U16 group. This was, warranted for sure. They made the U14 AA provincial title last year, losing to Waterloo. And they also won the Fall Cup this past fall here in Ottawa. So they're a really good team to keep an eye on. And then maybe a bit of a surprise, the North Halton Crimson Tide, who didn't even field a U14 team last year in the AA. Their last time fielding a U14 team was in 2023 at the AA division. Not only did they come back with a U14 team, Schmitty, but they're going to jump into AAA right away. And we'll get to them a little later and really break that down. But what are your thoughts initially on seeing that news?
Well, so Peel to me is just a natural progression. We talked about the relegation system and how that works. That's normal for me to see them there. What I do like about Peel as a club is they're going all into AAA at all the levels, which is nice to see. So no surprise there that they pop into the U14 East. North Halton, that's a bit of a surprise to me. However, with that being said, and I apologize, I don't know many of the crew over in North Halton, but you gotta have a bit of confidence in yourself to take that step from being in AA to not having a U14 to saying, hey, we're all into U14 AAA. I mean, I like the confidence, but can they pull it off? I know that area has a large population. I know that area has a ton of success at the high school levels. So some of these junior guys, are they junior high school players in some of these programs that are using this OSFL as an opportunity for them to get bigger, faster, stronger for their high school program in the fall. Don't know, but there's a lot of grade 7s and grade 8s that make up the majority of the U14 divisions. So that could be something that we don't know. Maybe they've aligned themselves with one of these high school programs, or several of these high school programs, said, "Hey, let us help you. Let us take these guys in the summer when they're not doing much. Let us help develop them so that when they come to your high school programs in the fall, they're bigger, faster, stronger, and better football IQ." So maybe they know something we don't. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, a little bit more on them later. I was able to get some info from them regarding their coaching staff, so that'll be interesting to break down. But
Nice.
also have a pretty good relationship with North Halton's vice president Jason Laskus. He's a great guy and really sleeps, eats, and breathes North Halton football. So I know he's excited to get into this AAA division, and it'll be interesting to see. You never know, right? We just don't know. I know 2 years ago they struggled, but anyways, we'll break them down a little bit later. I think, Schmitty, a good idea for us here is to kind of just to jump in to these team-by-team breakdowns. And what better place to start than the dynasty that's been the Cumberland Panthers here at the U14 division. So obviously we already mentioned back-to-back provincial championships, haven't lost a game in, over 700 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy. And really speaking to this team, so much talent on this team. I know you already talked about the coaching staff and the philosophy of getting these players ready for the next level. That's priority number one. But we can't overlook how talented these football players are on the field. I mean, countless all-stars on this team from last season, obviously very well warranted. What are your thoughts on them for 2025? Do we see even more talent come through? I mean, just like talk about this Panthers team and can they become the first, I believe the first OSFL team ever, because the OSFL has been around for 3 or 4 years now, first OSFL team ever to win 3 championships in a row.
Yeah, I got to say I like their chances. I like their pathway for sure. A lot of these guys that we talk about today who are impact players on this year's team were rookies last year. But these rookies that were on this last year's team that had their opportunities, they made some plays, they got in, they learned. These players were and haven't been around this team last year. I know these players are relentless for their learning and their football IQ and just getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And it's a testament to the coaching staff and a lot of these players that played last year in a smaller role on the championship team last year really came into their club teams last year at the NCAFA division and made a massive impact on their local club teams. So that was really nice to see. Which is not something that a lot of guys a lot of teams can say. So, just to touch a little bit on their coaching staff, Coach Ryan Gaucher is coming back as the head coach. He is a relentless recruiter, relentless. And when I say relentless, like the championship was won last August, and by September he's already recruiting for 2025. And there's nobody that does it better than this guy at this division. And I will challenge anybody if you want to pick up your team culture and learn how to recruit at this age group. Give Coach Ryan Gaucher a call. He's amazing at this, and all he does this year is obviously myself not returning as coordinator, and last year's coordinator Chris Colson has left for bigger and better things. He's actually going out east to be the offensive coordinator of the Acadia Axemen. So lots of good stuff there. All he does is bring in 2 well-established local guys here that are outstanding coordinators. Offensive coordinator in Natari Bangamagisha, who's done a lot of great things in the OVFL as well as the OSFL, and Paul Deek as the defensive coordinator, who was with the championship Panthers team in 2023, so he knows, and he was the defensive coordinator of last year's JV team at U16 Panthers, who went to the championship as well. So these guys are all proven, and they know what they're doing. And talk about we talk about players. There's got a plethora of all stars, like you said. There's a veteran returning player in Joanny Nagandi, who is a lethal weapon on offense. He could play running back, he could play receiver. He's a lethal returner as well, so watch out for him. In addition, he'll be tandem up this year with Avery Jean-Baptiste, who played a decent role as a backup player this year, but they're looking for him to be wide receiver number 2, and he's looking phenomenal. And they'll be catching passes from new quarterback Cristiano Sagbini, who was with the South Gloucester Raiders last year in the NCAPA division. Very, very smart, methodical, technical quarterback that is high percentage passes. So look to these 3 to make a big impact. So. And then 2 other guys one other guy that you can't forget about is an NCAFA standout in Johanna Tonfo, who will be playing probably some offense, probably some defense, probably return. He's that Swiss Army knife like Joanie as well. So these guys are going to be lethal in scoring points. So 448 points, which led the league last year.
Yeah.
I'm darn sure it's going to be darn close to that as well.
For sure. And a couple things to piggyback off of that. I seen the 2 recruitment announcements come in, and I wanted to touch on this quickly. Obviously, you just mentioned Joanny Ngandi. Wow, what a player he was for the Bel Air Lions in this past NCAFA season, but also for Cumberland's U14 team last year in the OSFL. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, same sentiment with Alexander Stevenson, who is a great linebacker for the Nepean Eagles, who also played for the Panthers last OSFL season.
He did. And something to note about Alex too, while we're talking about him, he played defensive end last year at the U14 level, and he's going to be making a change to the Mac linebacker spot.
Yeah.
So Mac linebackers, instant captains. So they're looking for big things from him to use his speed, his lateral speed across the field instead of just that relentless pass rush that he's shown in the past. So a step up for him, not only as a player, but as a leader on this team. So definitely look for Alex to make a massive impact right from day one.
Yeah, well, and seeing him play for the Eagles multiple times last year, TYSN got to film the NCAFA Championships and the Fall Cup. They were in both of those games. He was, you noticed him right away. And I think linebacker is the perfect spot for him with his sideline to sideline speed and really tenaciousness to bring down the ball carrier. But what the thing I wanted to mention is, if I had a vote, if there was some sort of league awards for NCAFA at this U14 division, Joanny Ngandi would have been my MVP, and Alex Stevenson would have been my Defensive Player of the Year. So Cumberland getting these 2 guys back. And then you add Jesse Momo, who I seen you make a note, Schmitty. He was a great, powerful running back for the Panthers U14 team in the CAFA. He's actually moving over to the defensive line, and he's a big boy. I'm not sure if they're still going to use him in short yardage situations at tailback, but I would, if I was Coach Ryan Gaucher, I would still put him at tailback here.
I have no doubt they got a couple things up their sleeve for him in some offensive packages for sure. Yeah, so he's going to be making the transition, and he did play a bit of that at the NCAFA level last year. So he's making the transition to the other edge. Look for that defense to be very, very potent and powerful.
And the rich get richer. It's crazy because, you'd think at some point the talent might drop off a little bit because, you win back-to-back provincial championships and you go undefeated. There are some players on those teams that are going to graduate, and then we've seen it the last 2 years, and you think, we can't really afford to lose him. Well, whenever you're bringing up these players and you still have these quality of players, we'll wait for our predictions, but this team's going to be really tough to beat again this season. And maybe to close things out on Cumberland, we could talk about how talented they are day and night here, but Schmitty, this is a big deal this season because a three-peat, as we've seen in the NFL this past season, is not an easy thing to accomplish. And some of these teams, like whenever you see Cumberland on your schedule at this age group in particular right now, that's a lot of those teams Super Bowl. Like they're going to give you their best game because they know that you're the best team and they're chasing you, right? So what do you think Coach Ryan's messages to his team? Is he keeping it simple? How do you strive to do something that hasn't been done in this league yet?
There is nothing simple about his coaching philosophy. It's he knows he's up there. He knows that all targets are on him. He just needs to stick to his guns. His coaches need to stick to his guns, one practice at a time, one game at a time, one win at a time, and go into the next one. And like I said, they're masters at developing their players and developing the culture. Develop the players, the culture gets developed, wins are organically going to come as a result. And I know for sure that that's the philosophy that they're going into this season, because, last season it was because of the East and West were all combined into one, you never really knew who you're going to play coming into the playoffs, right? Because every game mattered. Now this one here, where the East is going to be watching the West and vice versa. There's going to be teams that are in the West that are just their sights are going to be already set on meeting Cumberland in the semifinals or quarterfinals or finals, whatever that is.
For sure, and we haven't broken down the U16 AAA West yet, but same sentiment with the Burlington Stampeders there, right? Two very similar programs as far as how much success there's been over the past 2 years. I think that we could basically wrap up Cumberland there, because we know how talented they're going to be, and it's really going to be set on these other teams to knock them off that pedestal, and we'll see if some of these other teams can do it, starting with the Durham Dolphins, who finished with a nice record actually last year of 6-2. Obviously, we've talked about them already a couple times, Schmitty. They're pretty consistent across the board as far as U14 to U18. They're always going to put a good team out on the field. Last year, they were littered with a lot of playmakers. They opened up the season last year with a win over Burlington, 27-19. And then Burlington ended up actually ending their season in the playoffs in a 19-0 loss there. So Burlington got their revenge there, and I believe that was a quarterfinal game. So
Correct.
Durham probably got knocked out there earlier than expected. But you look at their signal caller last year, Hudson Jamont, and his connection with Junior D'Ambrosio, both OSFL All-Stars from last season.
Yep.
We didn't get too much info from Durham, so we don't know if these players are returning or whatnot. But I think it was important to note that those two players led the way. Were really good players in the East last year. And Schmitty, maybe you can talk a little bit about this, because you guys played Durham last year, correct? And you were on that coaching staff. So what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Durham now twice at the other age levels, and high expectations coming out of that program all the time. An unsuccessful losing season is just not tolerated by Richard Carey and his team and his coaches. They're relentless. But yeah, so here's a little fun fact. I've coached many years, and I've coached many times against Durham over the years. I would probably say upwards of maybe 10 times. I have never played Durham at home. I've always gone to their side of the field, and this field, man, is not easy to play in, and they know it. They call it SeaWorld. They have a DJ blasting loud music all the time. The field advantage is what it is, and they do it aggressively, to make it uncomfortable for you to be there. And this team last year when we were there, that's exactly what it was. It's never easy to play this team, and it's even harder to play them at home. So one thing that Durham as an organization does is make it uncomfortable for visiting teams to come in there and get a win, and it reflects with their record as well. So I have no doubt that the U14 team is going to have great coaches, great culture, make it difficult on their opponents to come in, despite what their players are. And this is another organization out of that GTA team that has a funneling of players from their U10s and their U12s and all that who play in the OSFL as well. So,
and they're amazing, Schmitty. They've won a lot of provincial championships down there.
Exactly. So you look at the successes of the younger age, set up the successes for the older age, and definitely their U12 program, who had a lot of success over the years, is going to be funneling up those kids to the U14. So I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be, again, a very, very tough Eastern Division team.
Yeah, and actually speaking on that, thanks for reminding me, Schmitty, because Durham beat Cumberland in the U12 Fall Cup this past fall. And I imagine a lot of those kids are moving up to U14. Yeah. And if that's the case, if you looked out on the field, the size of these kids, you could have mistaken them for U16 kids. So
Cumberland U12 team is a dynasty here as well.
Yeah.
They were steamrolling everybody, and they just got shell-shocked and couldn't do anything against this Durham team. So you're right. if some of these players move up and have their rookie season with this U14 squad of Durham, they'll definitely have some success for sure.
So circle that game on the calendar because
Always.
Cumberland will be looking for some revenge there. I know a lot of
Yep.
those players weren't on that team, but still, you see someone come in and hand it to you like that, you're going to want to get some revenge. So
It's in the back of
circle
the
that
mind.
on the schedule. Durham and Cumberland, they were the two best East teams last year, and so we'll see if they can mimic that success once again this year. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch out on. But moving on from Durham, we'll move over to the other Ottawa team, and that's the Myers Riders here, Schmitty. Kind of a down season for Myers. I mean, they still made the playoffs, finishing at 4-4 last season, but they actually made two back-to-back provincial championships themselves at this age group in 2022 and 2023, losing to Burlington and Cumberland in those years, so they weren't actually able to get a provincial championship win there. But back-to-back years representing at that provincial championship game. Last year, they fall a little bit short. Something important to note on them: they've actually been knocked out for by the crosstown rival Panthers each of the last two seasons, and you know that rivalry better than anybody, Schmitty. I mean, that's you take that to heart, right? Like, that's a big game. Actually losing to Cumberland 3 times last year, so they're going to come out hungry for sure. And maybe mentioning some of the players that you can expect on this team. We mentioned Cumberland and how many great players from our local fall league, NCAFA, that they have. Myers, same thing. They got some great players coming out that are going to rival Cumberland, and we know that game's going to be a huge game for them. So mentioning some of them, one guy I wanted to mention is Anthony Pistor from Canada, who was incredible for the Knights last year. I remember him and Alex Stevenson going head-to-head in that B Cup championship game, Nepean versus Canada. They were all over the place. Stevenson for Nepean, Pistor for Canada. I'm interested to see where Myers is going to use him this year. I could see him playing definitely that linebacker. He was a great linebacker, but I could also see him maybe even being their lead tailback. So
they had him listed as an athlete, eh? Not a specific
I listed
position,
him as an athlete. They might list him as something else, but from what I've seen from him, he plays all over the place. So we'll see where they end up using him. And then cool little tidbit here, Schmitty. Jonas Reed, who was one of the best athletes for this Bel Air Lions team last year that made it to the NCAFA Championship and lost to Cumberland. He will be playing for this Myers Riders team. Him and Joanie Ngandi were a tag team duo from that Lions this past season. Now they're going to be going head-to-head. Ngandi wearing the blue and white and Reed wearing the red and black. So that'll be an interesting thing because I know those guys have been close and they've been the best playmakers on that Lions offense for the past couple of years. Now they get to go head-to-head in the spring. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it was interesting to see the recruiting develop, especially with that Bel Air Lions and NCAFA team, because it seemed like half went and half went. So it's like they took that team, and that was a pretty successful team in its own right at the NCAFA division. So, Panthers got a bunch of those guys, and Myers got a bunch of those guys. So it'll be interesting when they play and they come and team up again and face each other for probably the first time in most of their lives. They grew up playing together. Now they're split, and it's going to be interesting to see how they can come together in their new teams and face each other.
Yeah, question for you here, Schmitty, because you've dealt with this definitely over the years. What is the vibe like for a guy like Ngandi or somebody who has a fall teammate playing for Myers? Like, does that game mean more to them whenever their buddies are on the other side that they know they were going to play with, that they get to go against for the first time?
You know what? It's not the first time this has happened. I know that there's teams around the league where this has happened. Guys have played together on their high schools and then they split, right? But, friendships are friendships, and there is no better sport than football to bring out those friendships. I always tell everybody, listen, football is the ultimate team sport. It truly is. And I'll challenge anybody that says it's another sport. You got to rely on the guy beside you, the guy behind you, the guy in front of you at all times, and trust that he's going to be there for you. So, as much as I'd like to say that this is going to be a big rivalry, these guys are friends off the field, and that's okay. But when we're on the field, we're no friends. The only friends are my brothers beside me, right? So that's a message to both coaches. We'll do that at the field. There's no friends.
Right. Yeah. No, that'll be exciting to see. I just thought that was a cool thing to
Yeah,
mention
very
because
neat, very neat.
really, for the people who don't follow NACAFA throughout the province, that Bel Air team was one of the best teams. Them and Cumberland played in the championship, a great game. And those two players who are playing on opposite sides of the city now were really the lead catalysts on offensively for that team. So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting to
definitely a
watch.
cool story.
Yeah, cool story. And then watch out for a couple of NACAFA All-Stars as well. We mentioned a bunch of them for Cumberland. Watch out for Chase Langdon, who was a great defensive back for Bell last year, the Bell Warriors. Running back Evan Mate from Kentville, and defensive lineman Ben Tweedy from the Wolverines. So, Schmitty, before we end things on Myers, obviously they've seen the success at Cumberland, specifically at this age group. What do you think their coaching staff is preaching to their players to say, hey, let's make this our time this time. Let's make us the best Ottawa U14 team in the city. What do you think the message is there?
Same. I feel like it's the same message that most clubs, if not all clubs, should be preaching, and that's let's come together as a team. Let's make sure we have a season. Let's make sure that our culture is where we want it to be in order for us to develop. I talk a lot about that kind of stuff, and I can never stress how important it is, because when you have the players and they're buying into your coaching styles and they're listening and they're learning and their IQ is getting better. I believe that Myers coach is returning, and Ryan Kublik, who has been there last season and is coming back. He's not that far removed from playing either. I know he was with the Carleton Ravens program as a player for many years. So he knows what it takes to get to the next level. So the guy knows what he's doing. He's got a history of developing players. So that culture that he's going to bring to the rest of his coaches and his team is going to be what we all strive for in a program, right? And what we all want to be around as a parent, and what we all want to learn as a player. So there's a good element there.
For sure, yeah. Well, I think that's good on Myers there. Let's see if they can return to their form of 2022 and 2023, where they made back-to-back provincial championships. Myers is definitely a part of that conversation, especially at this age. The past few years, making back-to-back provincial championships, and even last year they had a really good team. So be on the lookout for them. They're going to be talented once again. Let's see that Ottawa rivalry come through and see if they can make waves there. But moving on to the Oshawa Hawkeyes, who finished with a 2-6 regular season record in 2024. Obviously a down year for them because they lose all of that talent that moved up to the U16 team that was there for a couple of years, winning Fall Cup championships, almost winning the OSFL, almost making the OSFL championship. I know Myers knocked them off in 2023 to face you guys, and ended up losing that game. But obviously, probably a rebuild year for them last year, Schmitty. We've heard the talks about U16 players moving over to Durham and stuff, but this U14 Hawkeyes team, this is really where they've seen the most success over the past 3 or 4 years. This has been their bread and butter. Definitely one of the teams that has been talked about year in and year out to be like, this is a team that could win it all. Last year, they finally move on from that really talented core of players. They finished with a 2-6 record. What's your thoughts on them last year and moving into 2025?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a down year, and I also agree. I feel like their program has, of all the age levels, the U14 has been their bread and butter and their prime area for many years. Just another team, I believe too. They are in the OSFL, and they also have the U10 and the U12 age group, which are crucial to that development of the U14. So they're in that mix as well, just like Durham and those other GTA teams. If they are in a rebuild mode, I think that they have the foundations in place. They got a president that really cares about their program and their community. They're bringing on coaches that are going to help and develop. They have a feeder system for their U14 team. So I think they have all the pieces in place. They just got to put it back together. And if it's a rebuild and it takes a year or two to get that done, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So look for them to always compete and always give teams some trouble.
For sure, and I think they weren't able to reach that ultimate glory at the OSFL over the past couple of years, but they won I think it was back-to-back Fall Cup championships at U14. So, this is a team that's seen success, and like I said, every team's going to have a little bit of a rebuild time, and maybe this is it for Oshawa. But they actually ended up making the Tier 1 provincial playoffs last year again, being that last team in, and played London, who ended up making the finals, and gave them a tough game, only lost 28-7. So they played in some tough games last year. We know that they have a history of talented players, especially at this age group. They have a culture of winning those Fall Cup championships, and Schmitty, you can attest to it. I mean, those were some of the most talented U14 teams, along with the Panthers the last couple of years, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, they got the foundations in place. They just got to build off that, and if this year's not their year to do that, at least they're taking those steps to move into the right direction, which is always what we want to see as a football community, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So good luck to the Hawkeyes. Let's see if they can return to their dominance at this age group over the past 3 or 4 years. Only time will tell. But now moving on over to our last team that actually was in this division last year, in the U14 AAA division, and that's the Scarborough Thunder. And they finished with a 1-7 regular season record last year, Schmitty, but I would say that that's a little bit of a deceiving record with how close some of their games were against some of these middling U14 teams. And I actually got the chance to watch this team play in the U14 Tier 2 Championship at the Summer Cup in Waterloo. They were a really fun team to watch, man, and it actually puts things into perspective to see just how good Cumberland and just how good Myers has been at this U14 age group over the past few years, because this looked like a really well-oiled machine, really good team. They ended up winning that Tier 2 provincial title, so I would say, all things considered, a success for Scarborough in 2024.
Definitely.
How can they build off of that this year, Schmitty?
Scarborough team, I guess, finished strong, right? So if you want to have a successful season and whatnot, you got to start where you finish, or finish where you started. Those sayings, right? So I think what Scarborough needs to look at is consistency. Like you said, some of these games were close. These one-score games where you're on the losing end of those. This year, you have to be on the other end of those. There's no excuses anymore. You learned your lesson. You were within a score. What mistakes did we make during the course of the game that could have put that towards our way and lean towards that victory? Because you can't be 0-4 and then expect to make a strong playoff run and take it all the way consistently year after year. They did that last year. They put it together a final push towards that Tier 2 Cup. Can they start strong? Because when you start strong, it gives you a little wiggle room down the line. Whereas if you start slow, you have no choice but to finish strong and get there. So can Scarborough do that and show a bit more consistency across their season? Win one, lose one, win one, lose one, as opposed to lose, lose, lose. Then you have to win, win, win. So we'll see if that can happen.
For sure. And again, we didn't get too much from the organization or the coaches to see who their players were, but a couple of guys I wanted to mention from last year's team who were OSFL All-Stars. Noah Sharkey at receiver was incredible for them, along with Demario Gordon, who jumped out on film whenever I was calling that game with Shane last summer, playing both linebacker and running back. And kind of to close things out on them, Schmitty, with the U16 and U18 teams moving down to AA, this will be Scarborough's only AAA center in 2025. A lot of bragging rights there to be like, let's show the province that this is a AAA organization, and let's show them here at this U14 age group.
One thing I wanted to, what you mentioned about some of these players is a lot of two-way players, right? A lot of guys that play offense and defense. And, hey, as a coach, at the end of the day, you always want your best players on the field at all times. Like that's the objective, right? But some of these guys that play both ways, it really, and that may be what has separated their season. Why, the inconsistency was there. When you have a player that is playing as hard as he can, and all players who are at this level definitely do, they want to compete, but when you're playing both ways, it does catch up to some players. It takes a toll on them. That first quarter, man, they're strong. Then they start to die off a little bit coming into halftime. That third quarter, they're refreshed, they're ready to go. But, come the fourth quarter, and it's natural. It's going to happen. Some of these guys run out of gas, and they can't be that impact player in the fourth quarter when you need them like they were in the first quarter. And, maybe that was Scarborough's demise with some of those close games. Some of their big players couldn't make the plays because they have been grinding all game on the field at both sides of the ball. So that's hopefully, with recruiting and with numbers, that the depth of the team can adjust, and hopefully that is happening with teams like Scarborough and like Oshawa as well. They had flashes of brilliance, but can they sustain it and do that for a full game and eventually for a full season?
Yeah, really well put there, Schmidt. I think that's a really good point of players having to play both ways and really put it all on the line for their teams. It gets difficult over time because when I watched Scarborough last year in that championship game, their upper echelon players were they can compete with.
Oh yeah,
mostly every team's upper echelon players, right?
So and they're there for a reason, and they're on both sides of the ball for a reason because they can handle that. But it unfortunately when you're playing tough teams that have a lot of depth, it becomes too much for some of these guys, and they can't keep up, especially at this age group too. We got this is U14. They're not 14 yet. They're still 12 and 13-year-olds, and that's a lot of pressure to put on some of these kids.
For sure, yeah. Young kids, and one thing we wanted to preach, especially at this age group, it's still about getting other kids involved, getting as many kids on the field as you can throughout the game, and obviously your system and your depth chart is one thing, but get as many people involved as possible. Yeah, but I agree with you there, Schmitty. Trying to get as much depth to compete with the upper echelon teams has to be priority number one, and that starts from the ground up, right? So. Yep. Good luck to the Thunder this year. Kind of repping the Scarborough brand as the only AAA center that they have this season. So it'll be interesting to see. But now, Schmidt, we get to move on to our last three teams here who we didn't get to see last year at this specific division. Starting with the Kingston Grenadiers, we're going to start there, Schmitty. We've talked about them a couple times already on this show for U16 and U18. We talked about how elite their program is and how they're there every season and how they manage to coach their players. I know you had a good chat with their head coach, so I'll kind of throw it to you. What do you expect out of this team this year?
Yeah, so expansion team. So we have nothing. We have no history to base it off. However, we have program tradition and program strength, and they always do a great job at that. And I know they have a different sort of minor football league that's in there that's outside of the Grenadiers realm, I guess I could say. Grenadiers are mainly focused on the summer ball in the province, whereas I believe they have a separate league within their city for the youth, for the U8s, U10s, U12s. So that's something that's really nice to see because I feel like they've had some conversations and they've sort of maybe merged a little bit with their programs and said, hey, let's do the U14. Let's use the city league for development of these younger dudes and let's bring them up or give them another option for competitive. And talking to Coach Chris McCarthy Purdue, who's going to be their inaugural coach for this season, he was telling me that the turnout and the numbers for the tryout is massive, upwards of 80 players, which just to me is phenomenal, right? It means that they have players to pick from, to choose from, and they have a program that players want to go play and they want to compete at the next level, so that's a big thing, a big step for an expansion team as well. And then he's talking highly about his coaching staff, specifically his OC and his DC, who are coming from the high school program, so the KASSA high school, which from my small understanding of Ontario high school is extremely competitive. I think there's two schools out of that Kingston area that are always in that provincial high school conversation of being one of the top programs. So when you bring in coaches that have the history of winning and tradition of winning and development of their players and who come from strong programs, this team could be very, very exciting to watch. So Coach Chris is very, very excited about the potential this year. You know, one of the things that he told me that he really wants to focus on is compete. Whether that's competing at it for a position in practice, competing for playing time, competing for getting film quality and watching film with his players, he's very, very excited. I talk about the culture all the time. It's no different to me when I hear it from another coach who wants to bring those exact same culture philosophies and culture to his programs. So they're excited. They're using that minor league to get the good talent pool. They have the talent pool to get from. They have the coaches. They have the knowledge. They have a strong program with a rich tradition of competing. So I see no reason why this team shouldn't make an instant impact in the East.
For sure, it's another team for Cumberland to watch out for, and these other upper echelon teams that we've seen, because they haven't had to compete with the Kingston Grenadiers.
Well, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw in the schedule that Cumberland is going to Kingston in week 1 at all 3 levels. So Kingston's gonna get it right out of the gate, one of the top dogs, and it's gonna be a test for Cumberland as well, right out of the first gate. So that week 1 matchup, really in Kingston at all 3 levels is going to be really something to watch. That's gonna test the waters and see where both teams stand. Can Kingston compete against a top dog in the Panthers, and can the Panthers hold off an up-and-coming team and a fresh startup team at all 3 levels? So it's going to be a great week 1 matchup.
For sure, yeah. I just checked. I can confirm that for sure. Yeah. Kingston hosts the Panthers at all 3 age groups to kick off the season. So
I think we should take a drive down there for that day. It's not too far. Hour and a half down the road.
And I believe they play at Queens, right? The Grenadiers do,
which is always a wonderful place to watch a game, right? And to coach a game and to play in a game. The players are very lucky to play in a stadium like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So looking at the U14 schedule in week 1, that would definitely be my circle game. Out of all of them, Durham and Myers is another really good one too. So both Ottawa teams will be put to the test in week 1. So that'll be a really good matchup for sure, Schmitty. Great call on that one. But yeah, no, for Kingston, I just don't see them being coming in and struggling too much, because we just do not see them do that. Throughout any of the age groups, they're always above 500 or at 500. So I'm excited for that week 1 game. Who knows? That might be Cumberland's toughest game on their schedule, and it might be in week 1. We don't know, right? So it's gonna be cool to see. So good luck to the Grens. I can't wait to see them at the U14 level. Haven't got to see that in my whole life, and I always seen like you, Schmitty, see Kingston every year. Very familiar with them. So yeah, that'll be really fun to see. Moving on to a team that we are familiar with at this age group, but not at this level, the Peel Panthers, who finished with a 5-3 season, 5-3 record last season in the AA, making it to the provincial championship, losing to Waterloo. Got to call that game on a Friday night. Really electric atmosphere there, and I've really got to see this Peel team a lot over the past couple of years, Schmitty. They were in the Fall Cup final this past fall, which was an amazing game against the Eagles. Went down to the wire. They win that game, actually, and there's a lot in the P&E Eagles from that team that will be moving on to Cumberland this summer. So
and Myers too. Quite a few Myers.
And rekindle that rivalry. So looking at this team, Schmitty, I really think, I know we pretty much said the same thing for U16, but I think the adjustment period is not going to be too much on this Peel Panthers team, especially at this age group. They've been so good over the past few years. What's your take on them?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked earlier about them moving up at all 3 levels, and it seems like it's been a natural progression for all 3 levels to earn through the relegation system to move up based off of their previous AA experience. So yeah, you can't count these guys out. When we talked with head coach Dave Smith, he's saying that 2025 is a solid all-around team that is ready to battle for a championship. Now, when you, as a brand new team who has never played in the AAA, put out a statement like that, it just exudes confidence, And when we talk to him as well, and we ask, who are the players? well, he almost listed his whole roster, So, the confidence that this team seems to have in themselves really speaks volumes. And I feel like you got to have a bit of that confidence, a bit of that swagger to join the ranks of the AAA team and say, hey, man, we've had successes. We've bought our time. We've relegated up to here. We've earned our spot to come up and play with some of these big dog clubs. Prove us wrong, because they're gonna prove everybody wrong. So it's up to them to do their job, but it's also up to the other teams to not take this club and this team lightly. They're ready, and they say they're ready, and they just have to prove it. So best be sure that all these other teams need to watch out.
Sure, and they've showed that they can do it. They've have a very similar trajectory to what Oshawa had at U14. I feel like they're really kind of in that mold where now they're having success. They've won a Fall Cup championship. They made it to a provincial championship in the OSFL AA against Waterloo. And looking at the list of names that the head coach provided there, Schmitty, a lot of those guys are returning. Caden Hamilton, Damari Daly, Zion Thompson, just to name a few. They have tons of talent, Schmitty. Don't be shocked if you see this Peel team make it into that top 4 bracket and make the playoffs right out of the gate. That would not shock me one bit.
Well, that's good to know. The fact that you recognize some of these names from their AA team last year means that that's the natural step for them was to move up, because if these guys were rookies at AA making championship, making big plays, while as veteran players leading the team this year, if he's obviously highlighting his team captains, and what I like about that, especially on defense, he's highlighting a linebacker, he's highlighting 2 D lines, he's highlighting a DB, and if those are the captains on the 3 levels of defense, I mean, look for these guys who were rookies last year, look for them to be senior leaders this year and get the best out of the players that are around them to support that defense, and that's going to be that's exciting things as a coach. That's having depth and having leadership amongst your players, especially on defense, is huge. So you combine that with their film work and their culture and their immediate attention to saying that they are going to compete. There's definitely some worry from the rest of the teams when they have Peel on their schedule, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And with any team, I think it will be a small adjustment period. But I think that they are set up for success there, to where it won't be, too big on them. They've had the success here. It's the natural trajectory, right? What we talked about, what we want to see this league get to, where this league is now, the relegation and promotion, right? So they're moving up here. Very well warranted, and let's see what these Peel Panthers can do. I'm excited because I've seen so much of them over the past couple of years. Yeah. So I'm excited to see them play the teams from my backyard, really. So that's going to be very exciting to see.
Right on.
But moving on here to our last team, Schmitty, flying by these, really probably the most interesting team of note in this division this year, and that's the North Halton Crimson Tide. One of my personal favorite color schemes and logos and names.
Yeah. Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I love it. Really easy on the eyes. Really great to see. So very interesting with them. We talked a little bit before, but we'll actually break into it here. They did not field a U14 team last year in AA. 23 was the last year that they fielded a team in AA. That team went 1-6 in the regular season. And they come back with waves, man. I was a little bit taken back by seeing this, but they're moving up to AAA this season after not even fielding a AA team at this age group last season. So what's your feeling out of that camp, and what do they need to do to really make their presence known here in the AAA immediately?
Like we kind of talked about earlier in the opening, you say that they're a complete unknown, and to not have a team last year at this age group at any of the divisions is going to be tough. But excited to see, because there's something here that we don't know. They have something that we just don't know, and until I figure it out, I'll hold them in a certain regard with a little bit of hope. I don't know if they can compete in this division. But like you said, just so many unknowns, So
one of my favorite Yeah, one of my favorite mysteries of the offseason here, Schmidt, is like what like they jumped up and we don't really know why and how this happened, but it'll be really interesting to see. And we do have a little bit of info here, Schmidt. First of all, this will be the first time any Tide team represents North Halton in the AAA age group. So a
Okay.
little bit of pressure on them there too to represent the North Halton Tide and show that this organization can compete with AAA centers, and only time will tell there. But one informational piece that I do have is their head coach this year will be Michael Scarfone, who was the offensive coordinator for the Falls Burlington Stampeders team, who went undefeated in the OFFL, and obviously beat the Cumberland Panthers in the Fall Cup Provincial Championship to round out that weekend at the Sportsplex here in Ottawa. They do get a very good coach who that offense was really good, a kind of an air raid offense for a U14 team. We'll see if he brings that expertise to the Tide this year. Obviously, in that Halton area, they got a lot of good coaches from Burlington and Oakville and the Tide. So he takes over as leadership. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve that we don't know, Schmidt. It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, you talked a little bit about some coaches and stuff like that too, from the other programs, but I still really am still really fascinated at some of these teams and where they're looking at for their high schools that are around them. I'm from Ottawa, and high school football it always has peaks and valleys. These GTA teams, it's all that they know, right? When it comes to fall ball for guys that are in grade 9 and above, it's fall football is all high school down there. So I know there's I think they have in the North Halton area. I think they have the Garth Webb High School that just is known around the province as being a strong program. So have they built a relationship with these guys to make their program stronger? And if the answer is yes, then that's just so great for the local club teams who are competing in the fall. It's a stepping stone to the high school. Give me your guys in the summer. I'll help them be the best athletes and players they can be, so that when they come to you in the fall, there's an opportunity for you guys to have success. So, if they're building relationships with these high schools around them, I think that's a very, very strong tactic to use to develop the players and both programs. So it just seems to me like it's just a natural relationship. So we'll see how it goes with these guys.
We'll see. I'm excited to see the Tide be represented in AAA. Obviously, I mentioned close with their vice president and love their color scheme and their logo.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's always nice.
We'll see them in this iteration of the division this year, and I'm excited to break down our next step here, Schmitty, and it's prediction time. My favorite part of the episode. So I'm going to throw it to you. Give me your shocking number one team here.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a shock. I mean, it's got to be Cumberland. With the way that they have the recruits that they brought in, the talent and the coaching on not only on their roster but with their coaching staff as well. It's going to be hard to knock them off. I look at them having another undefeated season at 7-0.
Of course, to piggyback off of that. Just
again, until we're proven wrong, until they're proven wrong. They have to own that top spot, and could this be the year that some of these guys take them off their perch? It's always possible, But until that happens, I mean, we gotta stick with them, right?
Yeah, and just being how close TYSN is to NCAFA in the fall, and seeing how many of, just quite frankly, the best U14 players from that league this past season, seeing them being recruited and seeing where they're going, I just don't see them slowing down this season. And we could be wrong, like, Kingston coming in, Peel coming in, there might be some more competition there. But it's their league to lose this year again. I say we'll see with the West teams. It'll be interesting because Cumberland won't get to play any of the West teams.
Don't discount the West there.
For sure.
They're always strong, right? It'll again, looking at the West just from a distance, look for London, Burlington, Essex,
Hamilton,
Hamilton to all come in strong. So
yeah, for sure. I'm with you there, though, Schmidt. You gotta give them their just due, man. They've earned it. The coaching has been excellent. The play on the field has been superb. Give me the Panthers at number one. So no surprise there, folks. I mean, it's chalk, but I mean for good reason. So Schmidt, I'll throw it over to you for your number two team.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about this team being, almost the Panthers' rivals, quite honestly, over the past few years with the games, and these teams have finished, 1-2 or 2-1 throughout a lot of the divisions going up. But I got to go with Durham, taking that number 2 spot. Again, just they always play teams tough. It's tough to play at SeaWorld against the Dolphins, and I expect another strong season from them again.
Yeah, definitely Durham's a great team. I am going to go with my first off the board pick of the entire series of Touchdown Ontario's OSFL previews here. My number 2 team is going to be the Peel Panthers.
Yo.
I really think that just watching them, the amount of football I've watched from them over the past couple of years has just been what they put on tape. What I've seen from them, they're explosive. They have the championship pedigree, mind you, not at the AAA level. Bulletin board material here, but I'm putting the Peel Panthers at number 2. They're bringing back so many of their studs from that team last year, and I could be wrong, could be a crazy take at the end of the year, but give me Peel at number 2 here, Schmitty.
Bold, very bold. But you know what? They got the confidence. They got the confidence, and they got the tradition of winning at the AA. So I think it's a stretch. I think it's bold, but I like it. I like it. It's gonna cause some conversations for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't in good-hearted spirit, I can't go with a chalk pick every time. Give me the Peel Panthers. Give me back-to-back Panthers at 1 and 2 here this season in the East at U14. But yeah, no, okay, Schmitty, let's move on to number 3. Who's your number 3 squad?
Number 3 for me, again, we talked about this before, teams that are always in the conversation at this age group. Got to go with Myers. They do a great job at scoring points. One thing I know about Myers is they tailor to their opponent and to the talent that they have. They don't have a system and force it down their players' throats. They look at the players. What do we have? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Tailor a system towards that, and they prepare for each of the teams that they play for. So they're a very adaptable club, adaptable coaching staff. So I got them locked in at the number 3 spot.
Yeah, really good with their personnel, and I'm excited to see what system they go with this year and kind of who they tailor that around, if it's going to be Anthony.
They were actually, their offense was the one that gave the Panthers the most trouble last year out of all the leagues.
I've seen that. The most points put up, for sure, yeah. So, I definitely like that pick. I go back and forth. It's tough here. I went bold with my second, so everyone's going to be a little bit scattered.
Conservative on this one, man.
I think it'll be tough to pick between the Myers, Kingston, Durham. But I'm going to go off the board again here, man. I'm going to give me Kingston. Which, I mean, obviously we've seen how successful they've been at U16 and U18, so it's not really that big of a stretch. But what really sold me on them, Schmitty, is you talking to their head coach saying they had 80-plus athletes out there, and we see how good they are at U16 and U18, beating Cumberland both times last year at both age groups. Cumberland obviously got revenge there too, but just give me Kingston. I like Kingston here at the number 3 spot. It's tough for me to say because we don't really know any of their players or anything. But yeah, give me the Grenadiers at number 3 here, Schmitty. I like that. I think they come in and make a statement right away.
Yeah, respectable there. I'll just go immediately to my number 4, who's going to be Kingston. So it's like you said, for all those reasons. I mean, when I hear that a team has 80-plus players trying out for us, so that tells me that they're going to have their pick of the crop of talent, of the talent pool there for their starting, and they're going for their starting players, and they're going to have depth. And if there's one thing I know, when you're playing in 35-degree heat in the summertime, when families and players are going on summer vacation with their families, you need depth. And of course, God forbid you put some injuries into there to some key players, depth is crucial. So when you got 80 guys coming out and you got your cream of the crop for the top, and you got some depth that's behind them, they're going to be well positioned and well prepared each game. So I got Kingston sliding there at 4.
Yeah, no, I love the pick. With my number 4 selection, it's really tough. to pick between Durham and Myers here for me. I will piggyback off what you say because you sold me on them doing a great job with their system and tailoring it to their athletes and giving Cumberland the most problems offensively. Give me the Myers Riders here at number 4. As I mentioned, Anthony Pister, he'll definitely watch out for him, circle him whenever you're going to play them, and definitely Jonas Reed. So I can't wait to see that rivalry with Cumberland rekindle this year. And we'll see from Myers. This U14 squad has been really good for the past 3 years. It's hard to knock them even down past 4. So that'll be my top 4. Schmitty, lead us off with your number 5.
I mean, this is gonna sound similar to what you had at number 2, but I got to go with Peel as well. Their history, and I do think that with Kingston being new, can Peel with their experience maybe move into that final playoff spot in the East. So I think it's going to be Peel, but it's going to be darn close. I think that Kingston and Peel are going to have a one game that separates each other, or it's going to be a tie for that 4th spot, and Kingston just has some of the larger wins against liked opponents that do that. But I think that Peel's a strong choice to compete for that final playoff spot without a doubt.
Well, you heard mine, right? I mean, I think they're comfortably in it. So, yeah, definitely can compete at it. At the very least, I think we're both in agreement on that they'll definitely compete for a top 4 spot.
And to just touch on that too, if they can't get that 4th spot, they are going to be probably my number 1 team to take that Tier 2 championship for sure, based off of coach's talent, coach's philosophy, and their history of getting to the big game in AA, let alone win it, right? So
100%, yeah. I'd be remiss to not throw in Durham here. I've gone long enough not talking about them. Got to put them at number 5 here. I know I'm going off the board with some of these predictions, but it's all.
But I think where you're going is the same thing I was going with Peel. That number 4 spot could go to Kingston or Durham in your case, or Kingston and Peel in my case. So I think that's the spot for them also.
Yeah, so give me the Dolphins here. Just didn't get too much info from them, but if their U12 team is any indication, and if a lot of those players are moving up to U14, I could be way low on this team. They could be, like, you had them at number 2, right, Schmitty? So very well could be the second best team in this entire division. Gotta throw them here. We'll see with them. Their U12 team, like I said, has been excellent. And then here we go, Schmitty. Here's where the real conversation starts. The bottom 3 here. Who leads off your bottom 3?
I'm going to go with Oshawa at the next spot. I think that they have the pieces. They have building pieces, and if they are in a rebuild, they're going to really focus on that. I don't think a youth football program in general can sustain a rebuilding process of 2-3 years. I think that if you are going to go into a rebuild, you have to really, really put things into perspective on that first year. And if that is their year, I look for them to probably muster up 2 or 3 wins this year against the bottom 4 teams. I would imagine so.
No, I like the pick. I'm going to go with the Scarborough Thunder here, actually. I think this is just because I got to watch them play in the U14 Tier 2 Cup last year, so I'm a little bit more familiar with who's on their roster. But if you look at it, right, we don't know that much info on Scarborough and Oshawa. We just unfortunately didn't get much. But if Scarborough is returning the players that I seen them have last year, them and Oshawa were very close, so I'm just going to edge that to Scarborough and put them at my number 6 spot.
And I'll just do the opposite of you. I'll put Scarborough next, which I feel like you might be doing also. So.
I will do the same as you and put Oshawa at number 7, which means, Schmitty, we've already talked about them. We don't really have to do it again. We both have the Tide at number 8, and what is interesting here. You can't really fault us for putting them at number 8. They didn't even have a team last year. This will be the first time they're playing in AAA at all. I could see this team being surprising because, like you said, Schmitty, what are we missing here? They're getting one of the hottest offensive coordinators in football right now in the province because of the tape that his offense put on for Burlington last year at the Fall Cup. They were dominant, really good team. I don't know, Schmitty. Like right now, I have them penciled in for an 0-7 season, but could be totally wrong. They could come out with a really fun, exciting offense that gives some teams some problems here.
Yeah, like we said earlier, there's just too many unknowns for them, and I hate to put anybody in the last spot with a winless season, but we just don't know enough about them. They don't have a track record to prove that they can compete with the lower teams in the league, let alone the best. So until we see some data, I guess I could say, I have to agree with you. They'll probably have a tough year this year, sort of embracing the AAA and adjusting to it. But if they put together a solid season and surprise people, well, then they got a great foundation for the future. So
I'm excited to see it, man. I'm excited to see them move up. What I will say about the Tide is they've had a really good varsity program the past couple of years at AA. So they do have a success in their DNA. We'll just have to see it this younger division.
Well, and they're taking the right steps here to bring in a U14 team, which is the building blocks and foundation for any program in their growth. So they obviously have a 3-5 year vision plan as opposed to just the year in front of them. So that's and when you do have a 3 to 5 year vision, year one is going to be a struggle, as anybody would expect for any type of forward thinking, right? So.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. There are our U14 AAA predictions for the OSFL in 2025. Schmitty, always a blast having you on. Expect to see Schmitty on leading his own show here soon, breaking down some of these other divisions. That'll be fun. I know we got some special guests that we're looking to book here. If anybody's interested in jumping on one of these, and if you think you have a lot of knowledge on the OSFL, shoot us a DM over on TYSN. We still have yet to do any of the AA teams, and a couple of the West divisions we haven't completed. So send us that info over. Schmitty, I wanted to thank you once again for joining us on this episode. Any final thoughts?
Appreciate you, Devin. Thanks for having me as always. I love doing this. Talk football all day. Hit me up on my IG, Coach Schmitty37. Happy to talk. If you got some insider information that you want to pass our way, we'd be more than happy to promote it and to present it, whether it's team info that you want to highlight, or league info, or news, or breaking news, or whatever you want to do. Hit us up for sure. As always, all the best to all the teams, coaches, players. Please stay healthy. Last thing we want to hear is injuries to anybody, especially in this sport. So stay healthy and have a great 2025. Look forward to seeing you all on the field.
Good luck to everybody. If you are going to reach out to Schmitty, congratulate him on officially being a member of the TYSN team. And if you want access to this forum that we talk about, where teams can submit their info, if you haven't seen that come through your desk and you want to put some info on your team, if we haven't broken them down already, shoot us a DM. We will get that to you.
Or talk to your club presidents. They have all the info.
Yes, talk to your presidents. But yeah, no, that's it, Schmitty. Really appreciate your time once again here. Expect to see him a lot. Expect to see us a lot this season, breaking down the OSFL weekly. It's gonna be fun, man. But that rounds out the AAA East breakdowns for this 2025 upcoming season. It's all about on the field now. So we're going to see it translate and see if we're wrong, see if we're right, and watch some great football.
That's what I was going to say. Prove us right, prove us wrong.
That's it. All right, everyone, thanks for watching the U14 AAA East breakdown. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.